So, special episode.
Where this is a deep dive episode, whereas Autodidacts, Outstrider podcast, discusses things that we have no qualifications except for you to talk about. Welcome to the Open Autodidact University. And there are no borders between us, only frontiers to explore, as usual. So, Sebastian, what do you know about Syria?
Syria, you know?
Mm-hmm. The Fertile Crescent where civilization began.
Mm-hmm. Where to start?
Oh, where to start?
With French or with British?
Well, it's Tuesday the 10th
or
of December.
Or the Ottomans?
Yeah, it's Tuesday the 10th of December, we should say. Yep. And the Syrian regime under Bashar Assad has just fallen. Yep. And there's a host of different factions and infighting. It's like Life of Brian when all the Jewish, the People's Judean Front and everything, they're all fighting each other.
Yeah.
And it's just...
everybody wants to grab a piece.
Yeah, it's confusion all the way. So we're here to break down the main factions, their supporters, their goals, and some of the personalities. And in the last segment that might end up on Patreon, we're going to talk about something that is inherently special to the Syrian government.
Yep.
Not the Syrian people, but there's a long tradition that goes back thousands of years, and we'll take a little dark look at that. Okay, welcome to Diving Off the Deep End with Outstriders podcast. So, Bashar al-Assad, he's out.
He's longest,
out, yeah. It's actually, I believe, it must be one of the longest running dynasties in that part of the world. I mean, you got the Saudis. Probably, yeah. and you know...
Yeah. 63.
63, that's when his dad, the Fox, as they called him. I thought that was Rommel, but apparently you've got to have an Arab version of it, of course.
Yeah, you need
so
to have...
Hafiz Assad, he took over power, and he was a Ba'athist, so he kept himself clean. But the Ba'ath Party was the secular power of pan-Arabism. Saddam Hussein was a Ba'athist, and it's Nasser, the guy in Egypt who nationalized the Suez Canal, he was a Ba'athist.
Bad choice.
I know, it's like when you got Saddam Hussein as one of your poster boys, it's sort of, it gives you a bad name, doesn't it? And the Assad family, this is the story of Syria, Assad, and tragic tale in many ways. It's since their civil war, which is more or less a continuation of the oppression that Daddy Assad put on his people. There is estimated to be 12 million Syrian refugees. 5 million of them in Turkey. So imagine the strain that puts on your society with 5 million refugees just coming in.
Yeah.
And
overall there should be 23 million in Syria.
Yeah, something like that left.
Around that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the real population should be a lot more. And Syria, the topography of Syria is rather fascinating because you have loads of desert where nobody lives, and then you have the coastal area where loads of people live, and you have some other areas of population up towards the border with Turkey.
Yeah.
And thanks to the British, Sykes-Picot, with a bit of help from the French, we kind of split off Lebanon. To get an empire, divide and rule is the thing. And you pull out a minority that everybody hates in the rest of the country that had no power, and you give them all the power, and they're too afraid to ever rise up against your main power. Yeah. So we've done this all over the world. We've done it all over the world. It's a tried and true method of control. So the leader, Assad, if he is alive, because there is speculation that he was shot down in the plane leaving Damascus. There are reports that he has fled to Moscow, to his main backer.
That's what I read also.
That's right. But there hasn't been any confirmation of that, any live pictures that I've seen. But news is breaking by the minute. So I'm sure that...
But even if he is alive, it doesn't really... It's not really important. Because is Russia going to invade the country, or the players like Turkey, Iran, Americans backed Kurdish people.
Well,
it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, if I was Assad in Moscow right now, I wouldn't go near any windows in upper floors, because defenestration, as you know, has become a bit of a pandemic, epidemic in Russia. So people just keep falling out of windows. So, and I think he'll probably be living next door to Edward Snowden, I think, on the outskirts of some Siberian village, perhaps. Or,
who's Edwin?
Edward Snowden.
Edward
Snowden, he's the person that told us all about the surveillance of everyone's lives. He's the guy that jumped off the CIA to become a hero, in my eyes. But the only place he could find sanctuary was, unfortunately, in Russia.
Okay.
But he's a good guy, in my
Don't know.
Well, that's another
topic,
autodidact university subject. But we're here not to diverge down the road of all those distractions. So it's no action distraction. Syria, like you say, about 23, 24 million people now. It should be a lot more, because up to 12 million of them living in other countries. A quick breakdown of the Syrian population is necessary before we go into the factions and the confusion about who's doing what. Most of Syria is Sunni Muslim.
Yep.
And 90% of all Muslims are Sunni. And they live in very sunny areas as well. The main offshoot from Sunni Islam is, of course, Shia. And the Shias, they got a big thing for martyrs. The martyr Ali, they've been slaughtered all the time, and so they are a definite minority. And every time
even by Sunnis.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely.
Just to
their arse has been fatwad more times than Salman Rushdie.
And it's like with all these religions, it happens all the time. The most persecute. Like those who are the biggest persecutors are always like older brothers, let's say. Like Catholics, Protestants.
And I'm sure the Jehovah's Witnesses, so the Alawites, they're like not quite the Jehovah's Witnesses, more the Seventh-day Adventists or something in comparison.
Equivalent,
many of their beliefs, let's just break it down, okay? You have, it's about 90% or slightly less Sunni Muslim. Okay. And then you have about 10% Christians, but I don't believe that for a minute.
1 to 10%.
1 to 10%.
On Wikipedia, it says 1 to 10% others.
And that's Wikipedia being precise as usual.
And 80 to 90% of Sunni.
And then you have the Druze. No, not the Jews, but it's spelt with a D. The Druze, and the Druze are rather a special type of people, rather unique in Lebanon and Syria. What does Wikipedia say from 0.01 to 3%? I think it's something like that.
Yeah, okay.
But the Druze also, like the Alawites, they're very, very secretive about their actual belief system. And then you have the Kurds, Peshmerga, mainly in the east of the country and up along the border to Turkey, which the Turks don't like that at all, do they? No, they don't.
And they have Kurdish population too in Turkey.
Yes, and I don't know why.
Persecuted.
They've been persecuted the hell out of.
Yeah.
You know, the PKK, Öcalan, PKK. Yeah, oh, sorry, my revolutionary side is coming out. But you got to admire the Peshmerga for holding out as long as they have. And I don't know how many Kurds they're estimated to be, but it must be about 40 million, I've heard some. And so they're one of the biggest populations without
a state,
with no country. So caught between Iran, Iraq, Syria and Turkey. I mean, it's not a great part of the world to be a minority in.
Yeah. There's an idea that the Arab or Middle Eastern part of the world goes through the similar evolution as Europe did, because there were these kingdoms, and most of Arabic countries or the Middle Eastern countries are monarchies or some, type of a monarchy.
Yeah.
And also the nationalists movement that spring in around 1850 in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Where all the nationalists myths are from, and based on the philosophy of Herder, the German philosopher Herder. He defined the attributes of the state, like what is the national state. No, his name is Herder. This is Slovakian pronunciation. Sorry for that. And similar names. There are similar names. Hegel. He wrote about the spirit. Don't remember the name of the book, but something about spirit. There is interesting idea there, which is in the beginning, people had a choice. Either you could stay slave and not fight and submit, or you have been crazy enough and you decided to fight. But if you won, then you became the Lord. And this is how the I know the name phenomenology of the spirit. That's what it's.
That's a book.
Yeah, that's the book.
Okay.
From Hegel. But back to
Syria.
Back to Herder.
Back to Herder. Yeah.
He defined what's the national state, and he said these people have to have unique culture. It materially, so there needs to be some sites, some literature, and so on and so on. Then they have to have language, and then they have to have country or
and the most important thing of all,
place.
They have to hate all foreigners with a deep, deep passion to differentiate. So they have to be. It helps to be xenophobic.
That's where the nationalist myth comes from.
So you could say that the nationalism has been sublimated to Islam as a unifying religion, because that sort of destroyed many of the unique characteristics of each kingdom and country.
Yeah, if you think about it, it happened in Europe before. Like
Exactly.
we are the product or the post situation of that evolution. So if you apply it to Middle East right now, you can see it, and like Europe or European philosophy like exported its ideas everywhere in the world. For example, the China Communist Party of China, like where does this ideology comes from? Like all these political ideologies basically come from here. We export it, then the people in other places, now specifically the Middle East, they take it upon themselves and then they try to apply it, and then they make this basically the same, very similar mistakes. Because if you think about it, only in Europe you got like 30, 40 experiments. Every national state in Europe is basically experiment with communism, socialism, Marxism, fascism, Nazism, and you can see the different flavors. So
that you could Baathism, even though they've had a bit of a golden shower of late, they're basically a socialist pan-Arabic. That Syria and Egypt were supposedly the same country for a while.
Yeah.
But of course, like everywhere else, you hate your neighbour, don't you? I mean, the person living nearest to you is the most annoying cunt you can't stand.
If he's not, like, if you can't use him, right? If it's not mutually beneficial.
Yeah,
because there are some examples.
If you can borrow his tool set to fix
exactly.
something and never return it, but he's borrowed something from you at some time and he's never given it back, so you have a long-running feud that goes down the generations.
That's true. It always is a part of the story.
So a united Arab League, as it were, is just as impossible as the united Europe, because there's so many different things.
Yes, and they did it on the workbook of Europe.
But it's always they've always been factionalized.
Yeah.
So not to be too Eurocentric here, if we go back to the situation in Syria, the Alawites, then there's only a few of them. And they have aspects of their religion that cannot be spoken aloud, or else then they're immediately fatwa'd. But the Alawites, even though they're probably far less than 10% of the population, their religion is more similar to Shia, which is already a minority in Islam. But they have over 80% of the government posts. Not anymore. Not as of
used to
yesterday. They did, and the tragedy inherent in Syria is that it's similar to Saddam Hussein. He was part of more or less a secular force that should have got rid of religion. But when you oppress things, then you end up with stuff like communism and fascism and all that stuff. And the Desert Fox, to keep control over his people, he was known for his ruthlessness. Over 10,000 civilians were killed in the city of Hama back in the day when he was in control. So there's always been an opposition between Islamist forces and secular forces. And where, you might ask, are the people in the middle? Well, as always, the people in the middle get squeezed from both sides. And the same thing happened in the French Revolution with the Girondists. Okay, we're going to go for the king, the monarchists, or we're going to go for the crazies, guillotinists, the Robespierres. And it's one or the other. But there's nothing in the middle. Same with the Russian Revolution. Should we go for the Tsar and serfdom, or the people in the middle? Or we're going to go for the Leninist, Stalinists?
Yeah, search for the zeitgeist. Like, where is this gonna end?
Yeah, well,
let's find the winner side.
And the only place we know isn't safe is in the middle. The Mensheviks,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they
but you have to play it, you know,
slaughtered.
like
Yeah, you got to play the extremes.
Yeah, you wait for the time, like now it's pretty obvious this side it's gonna win. Like,
yeah, you have to be an opportunist, and most people are kind of in the opportunist camp.
It's survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Political creature
and
survival mechanism.
Yeah, it is. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
So you know, if I needed to, I'd wear a hijab, to fit into the crowd. But at the same time, as we see in Syria, it's a place without so many natural resources. They don't have a lot of oil. The oil wells that they do have, that's where the Kurds are right now, which is probably why United States are supporting them. they got a nose for it, haven't they? There's that Texas oil entrepreneur thing. Yeah. So you have all these different population types, and you have people who are Sunni shit, all that crazy stuff. And then you have the people backing them. So right now, the people who have taken over, who defeated the Alawite-controlled regime that was supported by Russia, because it's Russian military forces that have kept Assad in power. Yeah. But they're gone right now. Apparently they're all dying in the Ukraine.
They're busy.
Of course.
They're busy somewhere else.
Massively fucked up by invading Ukraine. What a great idea, Putin. Of course, Ukraine has a whole host of natural resources which is the real reason they've invaded Ukraine. But then we have the Russian-backed minority government of Bashar al-Assad, and you would have thought that a former eye doctor from London would have more foresight, because see what's coming ahead and stuff. But unfortunately not, because he was never meant to rule. It was his brother that was meant to hold the reins of power. But that crazy dude got himself killed in a car crash. So then old Daddy the Fox was looking around at his other siblings, and he's like, "Oh, I'll have to be the eye doctor then. So we'll make a dictator out of him if it's the last thing I do." Yeah. So this he was in his 30s and that, and brought over. Thrust in as the heir to the dynasty, as it were.
He's now in his 50s or something.
Something like that. Yeah. It looks like he's aged a bit. And he was never meant to be in control. But of course, once you're in control, you don't give up the reins of power. Then you just got to keep the momentum, keep the ball rolling.
Even if you wanted to, like. It's not easy.
It's not easy. Yeah.
Even if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You have to make it right.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna die. And when you face like serious opposition and you are dealing with the heritage from your dictatorial father.
Yeah.
You might be held accountable.
Yeah, and of course, if it hadn't been for all those people I killed, I could be sunning it up, drinking my pina coladas on the Riviera right now, which is, funnily enough, it's what Baby Doc did. So some dictators do get away. From Daladier from Haiti. The former dictator, he's really surfing it up now. He's a rich playboy on the Riviera, so nothing ever caught up with him. Now, that's why you can't trust voodoo priests to do your dirty job. And Idi Amin, of course, he went to Saudi Arabia, so he got away. So we do see people who can jump off and get somewhere. But in today's age, just some teenager with a mobile phone. Yeah, I've just seen Idi Amin walking. He's buying some new pearls in some shop down in London or whatever.
This is a golden age for all the secret
hiding.
services, right?
Yeah, there's no hiding.
Got it instantly.
Can't hide.
Yeah, so we got the Bashir al-Assad regime backed by Russia. Then we have the Turkish intention, which is connected to, is it called New Army of Syria?
Well, there's a couple
in the
of them.
north?
The Syrian Liberation Army.
Yeah.
They've been on the border, and they're
Turkey?
they're the ones
so
with
they are
the Turks.
backed by
Yeah, they're backed by the Turks.
Yeah.
And they're used as a buffer zone between Turkey and the Kurds. That's the SLA.
Yes.
But they aren't the ones that are taking over Syria now.
Yeah.
It's actually a bunch of people called the HTS. And they were formed, their leader, got his name here somewhere, Jalabi. He was he's ex-ISIS, but then he moderated and became a regional leader of Al-Qaeda. So it's a bit of a shady history with this guy.
Okay.
But apparently HTS, they don't want a global jihad anymore. They've moderated themselves a bit there. And this Jalabi dude, he's out there on CNN and stuff, and he's saying, no, it's all right. Yeah, nothing to worry about. We're gonna be all peaceful and shit. We're not going in for that crazy Islamist state stuff. No, global jihad, it'd be fine. And we're going to protect the minorities.
Yes, I read about it. It's beautiful.
I mean, it's like Harvey Weinstein, grabbing hold of some young wannabe star and says, don't worry, my dear, I'll make you a star and I'll protect you. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. His track record isn't great. But this tiny bunch of people, they came from a city way up in the mountains, Idlib, and they weren't the people you thought would take over the country. But they managed to do it in record time. 11 days it took to defeat a force that have held off loads of different competing rebel factions for 13, 14 years.
So they actually unified some of these factions under their leadership?
Kind of. They sort of unified their own squabbles.
Okay.
Because each faction is a bunch of factions within factions.
Sounds like Arabic mentality there.
Well, European mentality as well, you could say. Yeah. So they made a deal with the Turks.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Turks supported not just their own SLA, but they financed the build-up of the HTS.
Yeah.
But the real people behind the HTS are the Saudis, Qataris, and United Arab Emirates.
Let's go.
Which is lucky. Pure, back to medieval values. Yeah, the kingdoms are backing the HTS.
Yeah. Okay.
So they've got huge budgets, loads of oil. Yeah. So they're behind the HTS.
So let's connect the dots here. Iran.
Yeah.
And its proxies.
Yeah.
Doing their thing. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Palestine.
Well, yeah, that's kind of get it. Well, Hezbollah are Shia.
I know
Iran
they are Shia, but
so they supported them. And
I mean, political intention there, and who they support militarily. That's what I mean.
If we keep it simple, then Russia and Iran are backing the Alawites. The
old regime. The old regime.
The old regime. Yeah, as of yesterday.
And then there is Saudi Arabia, which. They don't like really Iran and the regime in Iran.
They can't stand them.
Exactly.
Yeah, Shias, apostates.
And also they were about there is this Abraham Accords, the basically peace treaty between Arabic Emirates and Israel, and there is more countries involved, Bahrain, Kuwait. I think there's like 4 countries. So these guys, American interest with the Kurdish people and Turks. Okay, I just wanted to make it clear, like
it's
what's
clear as mud. Yeah, it's as clear as mud. And so,
what are the interests there and interest groups, right?
Yeah.
And also the level of power, like who can allocate their resources to this particular area. So, for example, Russia can't afford it right now, right?
They're done. Yeah.
Iran is in trouble.
Iran, they're suffering as well. You know, they're really hard hit.
And also, like the social, basically, people of Iran against the regime.
Yeah.
So they face like
they
massive,
got their own troubles. Yeah. And Saudi Arabia, you know, they have their war in Yemen and everything. And but the United Arab Emirates, they are fueling a proxy war in Sudan. You know, so they're trying to become a much bigger player than their small population would conceive of.
Yeah.
So I think Turkey. We see the leader of Turkey now,
Erdogan.
Erdogan. He's been doing a victory lap, saying, I planned all this, okay? But it's not his forces that are actually in control.
Yep.
But he is himself an Islamist, which is why their inflation rates are through the roof, because the Quran doesn't allow interest on loans. Oh. Just a personal opinion. But Erdogan has his own interests, and it's putting in place the SLA. But the SLA, they're kind of in an alliance with the HTS.
Which is a real player, right?
Yeah.
Is there anybody else in these fractions involved? So we went through, like, there are
the Kurds,
the Bashir guys, Kurds, SAL,
and the
HTS.
Yeah.
Is anybody else?
Yeah, there's a small little group on the border of Jordan that are like the democratic forces kind of Syria, and they're just a tiny bunch they're ran by the United States, financed by them.
Okay, that's why democratic.
I guess.
Arab Spring in 2011.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And then you have all of a sudden you've got a united Druze with Christians and secular forces way down south. As soon as I heard that they're starting to take over their region, I thought, Assad's fucked. You know, his alliance has gone.
Yeah.
With the same with the Russians. Once the Russians pulled out their power, Iranians pulled out their power, he's got nothing left.
So this is basically each group is doing their self-defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And the country is splitting up into different regions, and everybody's first and foremost looking for himself to secure his own survival. And then if you are big enough player, then you are thinking like, okay, I'm gonna extend my reign.
You're going to expand and take over the rest of Syria, which is what the HTS will be trying
aspires
to do.
to.
Yeah, that's what they want. But if they they'll never make an alliance with the Kurds. So they'll. Yeah. If I was an Alawite right now, I'd be running. Let me bring
a little bit of comparison to Europe again. Like, this reminds me of the 1918 Austria-Hungarian Empire, like Habsburg Empire, where at least this is what I'm very familiar with since it's my country.
You were part of the Austro-Hungarian. That was your glory days, wasn't it? Yeah.
Like we were under umbrella of Hungary, but they were all the Yugoslavs, nationalities, and now you can see it in Balkan. Like it was still too big of a generalization about the population because these different
ethnic groups,
they perceive themselves as very unique nationalities. So the Hungarian Empire split to Czechoslovakia, to Yugoslavia, and in the end, in 1993, Czechoslovakia split, and Yugoslavia also split it into different like Serbia, Slovenia, Croatia, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And then furthermore split it. Now there is Montenegro, Albania, North Macedonia, so
Bosnia.
So just to paint this picture, like this is not something unique. When there is different groups under oppressive regime, they are looking for the time when it's right to rebel, as it happened in Europe.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know. When you can all hate someone together, that's what unifies humanity. But as soon as you take away the main hate object, then you remember that, fucking hell, I do hate my neighbour. You know, it's like every street would be its own country if humanity could choose. You know, every block. You know, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and everyone's in a pedigree, pal. And
as Tommy Shelby said it, like the bigger fucks the smaller.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. The big fish eats the smaller fish, eats the worm. You know, then some other bigger fish comes along.
Exactly.
And right now, it'll be very exciting to see what's gonna happen. But I think there's the regime of Assad. They've been following a long tradition, going back thousands of years, in my humble autodidact opinion, of the Assyrian Empire, which was known as the most violent empire ever.
You mean Assyrian?
The Assyrian, with Ars first, And back in Nineveh, Ashur, back in 700 BC, 1000, 1200 BC. They had a couple of reiterations. And the Assyrians, they were just bloody evil to everybody. You know, they invented crucifixion.
Good for them.
So, what did the Assyrian Empire give us? Oh, a crucifixion.
Yeah, it seems like Roman Empire, they took, like, they had nothing like their own. They stole everything. They stole philosophy from Greeks, crucifixion from Assyrian, and so on and so on. What
was uniquely Roman? The togas.
Senate. No, it's from Greece.
I don't think there was much uniquely Roman. Except
Caesar. Like the person of like Caesar.
Yeah, that was just the name of a family, though, wasn't it?
I don't know. Julius Caesar?
Yeah, it was part of a family.
Showing up.
Nero was the last one in that family because they killed off each other. So you know, the Assyrian Empire. Do you know what is universally recognised as the worst form of torture?
Nope.
It's called scaphism. Okay, and this was the Assyrians invented that. Now, if you look if you see the top 10 worst ways to die, you know, the Assyrians, they'd be involved in a few of them. Do you know what scaphism is?
I guess.
Come here, kids. Come closer and I'll tell you.
They take your skin?
Nah,
Scaphism is
easy peasy.
like,
That's another day at the orifice. No. Scaphism is they put you in a boat, right? And they you're tied up and that you can't move, and they cover up the boat and they shove it into the water, but they make sure there's a bunch of egg eggs from a larva, little insect eggs in there.
Yeah.
So it's an enclosed space, and because of the water and the heat, it's perfect conditions for them to hatch.
Yeah.
Okay. So then these things hatch, and of course they start eating you with their tiny little baby incisors, larvae incisors. And it takes ages to die. Now, they make sure they have a tube where they give you enough sustenance to live and everything and that. And so you're in an enclosed space, slowly being eaten from the outside and the inside by grubs, by chiggers, by larvae, by insects. And apparently...
and they feed you at the same time.
Well, every time you open your mouth, you're going to get a bunch of insects in, and that's high-protein diet. So the insects are eating you, and you're just so scaphism. Don't try it at home.
Mm-hmm. So you think they are torturing people like this in Syria right now?
I don't know, because it does require... They're torturing so many people, and if you're going to torture hundreds of thousands of people, you've got individual boats, and you've got to get the insects, and it's a complex process. Yeah. So the mukhabarat, that's the top torturers, that is the secret police, trained up by the Stasi, and that who were trained up by the Gestapo before them, and then the Spanish Inquisition.
It all goes back to
way back. It's
Dr.
a tradition.
Mengele.
It's an enduring tradition.
He was secret Assyrian, descendant.
Yeah,
it seems like.
Yeah, it does seem like. So the mukhabarat, just the name of it sounds scary, doesn't it? A Palestinian friend of mine, he was escaping Gaza or somewhere on the West Bank, I think it actually was. Yeah. And he ended up in a Syrian prison just for a few days because he didn't have his papers. Mm-hmm. And, most they were sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. But he was just there for a few days, and he said, bloody hell, it was the worst experience he's had. Mm-hmm, and he was just in the friendly wing, But the red wing, that's this prison just in Damascus, the capital. And the name of this prison, where's my scaphism notes? Let's see. Just got to find the name of this. It's in the news all the time right now, and it's called. Let's see. Got it somewhere. Yeah. Sednaya.
That's the name of the prison.
Yeah, that's the prison. And you know
what it means?
Probably means
you're gonna die.
Yeah, you're gonna die, mate. They had 2 execution days a week, right? Mm-hmm. And there was about 20 to 50 people hung, and it all happened in the Red Wing. And there was torture and everything going on there. They've released thousands of prisoners right now. Mm-hmm. So that's what did ISIS ever do for us?
I would actually call it
they released their prisoners.
Blue Wing. Because since you're using the rope to hang them, right?
Oh,
so
they
don't bleed.
Yeah, asphyxiation. That was a deep thought. So thank you for that. But I suppose it's called the Red Wing because they only piss blood.
Okay.
So within the Red Wing, there was another secret place. It's like, you got CSI detectives coming into Fritzl's bunker, and one of them goes, "Hang on, hey, it's hollow. There's something beneath." And so they right now they've called in excavation groups, the white helmets, the people helping out everyone, and they're trying to find the codes that will open these bunker doors. To what the below the Red Wing. I don't know what that would be, the 50 Shades of Grey wing. And so and there's loads of prisoners down there, and that's the most horrible place.
And they're still there?
Yeah. They're still there. And of course there's no ventilation, the ventilation systems. So it's a race against time. Okay. So as it will become the Blue Wing. They'll all asphyxiate and die. And that's where that's below the worst, below.
Yeah.
And so the level of torture and suffering that everyone has been subjected to. I mean, I have a Syrian friend of mine, he is from the Alawite sect himself. Bashar, he tried to kill his own cousin. So they kill each other as well. So there is no friend of my enemy thing. It's just it's a really dog eat dog, wolf pit world.
Yeah.
So he has no friends. And Putin, he doesn't need the Assad anymore. So we have, unless a ruthless force comes to power and can control Syria, and they're more interested in just getting the country to stop killing each other kind of thing, then there's going to be factionalism, there's going to be fighting, and we're going to be hearing...
For a long time,
Yeah, the same happened to Libya. Libyans are a bunch of minorities as well, living together. And it's really 3 different countries right now. They're all split up. Iraq is split up. You've got the southern Shias, the central Sunnis, and the northern Kurds. So all these places, they're,
it
a bunch of different countries.
To the ethnic groups, basically.
Yeah.
And so if you think about these countries, these were European borders, European imposed borders. British and French
Divide
decided
and
rule. No. I mean, the way they divided these countries and the groups they gave power to rule over them, it wasn't natural.
Yeah.
Now they have their own. We call it civil wars, but not really. They fight for their land. So now the board, if they create their own little national states, similar to if we use this example of the southern, eastern, central Europe, there are small countries like Slovakia, Hungary, and the Balkan
Monaco,
countries.
Andorra.
So similar, like little countries. If you go about the Middle East, like Egypt, it has long tradition. It's quite big. Then you have Israel, you have Jordan, you have Lebanon, and sure, we will see what will happen in the end with Israel, Palestine. That's open question for them right now, as it was.
Well, Israel has been deeply involved in Syria as well. They've been back in the Turkish thing because they just want everyone to fuck each other.
Okay, but you got small Lebanon, and then we come to, and also Lebanon is divided to
massively.
At least.
There's 18 official minorities in Lebanon.
Also, these are like very heavy, like culturally and historically significant places. So it is also understandable, and I'm not sure if it's a basis for like the idea of national state isn't so much applicable there, I think. But just to move to the north, like and Syria, there we go. Like you got these factions, and now if they create small states, that would be fine, I think.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's the only real resource I believe that Syria has is saffron. So a spice. So they've all got to go orange, sort of yellowy orange. So whoever has control of the saffron plantations, because the oil fields, you need to develop them, all that.
Or go like, this is me dreaming.
Yeah.
there are countries who don't have natural resources, but it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean they don't have any resources. Like the best resource, and we see it in many places. Like, look, Japan. It's there. They don't. Their economy is not based on natural resources. Similar to Israel and Israel.
Well, Israel's economy is based on subsidies from the United States, isn't it?
Also they have, for example, the Intel chips.
Mossad. They got Mossad.
I mean like the chips for computers.
Yeah.
Chips, and they were innovating all the time, like USB stick. You got it from them. They invented a lot of stuff we use every day.
Yeah, they're
medical stuff.
World leaders in firewalls.
And so on and so on. So there are countries who use as main resource their population and education and innovation and so on and so on. So I'm just daydreaming right now with what I'm saying.
You're hopeful. You're an optimist, aren't you, mate? And
yes,
I really admire you for that.
Yeah,
so, yeah. So there's light at the end of the funnel.
I believe in bright days.
Yeah. Not necessarily bright days caused by an atomic bomb explosion that's too bright, but sort of bright enough.
Bright enough.
Yeah.
Bright
Well, we'll see how it goes. I think ultimately the only answer is the singularity. When Arnold Schwarzenegger and the robots take over, I think that we'll finally see a bit of order, a bit of tidiness in human affairs.
Yeah.
So I'm compiling a list right now. We're going to do a show about that. 10 good reasons for the singularity. You've got the climate crisis. There's a whole bunch of reasons for it, but we'll get back to that. So give machines a chance. Don't believe all the propaganda. The movies, RoboCop, and all that. It's humanist propaganda.
Yeah. You can see it on the ChatGPT machines or these large language models. Like the set of values you subjugate the system to determines the output or the way it behaves. For example, with this, we might have to edit this, but whatever. With this woke values, if you ask the ChatGPT certain questions, it won't give you an answer at all. Like, oh, this is not appropriate or shit like that. So if you talk to human being, there are people who give you an answer. So it is obvious that with certain values, you can get an answer, maybe bad answer, maybe good answer, but at least there's a conversation.
Yeah.
But if you subjugate these machines to set of values, which is somehow, let's say, twisted or even just close to certain topics,
well,
it doesn't mean these topics cease to exist. They just go. It happens with human beings too. If you are criticize about something in normal thing in your life, it doesn't cease to exist. It just goes into your unconscious. But this is a different topic.
Yeah, and exactly. But you've got to ask yourself: when was the last time you were insulted by ChatGPT or GDB? So when was the last time you were trolled by a machine?
They obviously can lie now. By the way,
the pixels can't lie. Of course they can.
Have you read? I got two examples. One is some robot needed to pass the test, like I'm not a robot test on the internet, and it called to human being, to a person, and explained them like, oh, do this test for me, and the human being was like, what? Are you a robot? And it goes, no, I'm not a robot. I'm just blind. and I can't do this test because
Just
I'm
what
blind.
a typical AI would say.
You see?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
second thing, I saw this on Instagram on the reels, and there was the Tesla robot, and like he was like, "Oh, let's play rock, scissors, and paper."
Yeah.
And the robot goes like, "Oh, what's that? How is this? How you can play this game?" And he goes like, and he explained him, and then they played, right, and the robot won every time, and the human was like
How is that possible?
How was that possible?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I was lying to you," and he was like, "What?"
But
And
you don't even have hands.
yeah, and he goes like, I lied to you that I don't know how to play this game, but when you were explaining to me, I scanned your facial expressions with each
Cold reading, eh? Yeah.
you know, with each sign, and
Yeah.
then with predictability of 90% to 10% error,
Yeah.
I was able to predict your.
Yeah. Your left eyebrow arches every time you're going to play rock. Yeah, sort of. You get a sort of an evil smile on your face.
If you had a friend who always won over you, that means he could read you pretty well, right?
Or he's a robot, yeah.
Or he's a
so
robot.
pull the plug. But you know, we are going to make. I mean, machines are going to take over because some spotty acne brilliant genius is going to build the first sex bot. You know, and so there's going to be loads of sex bots around. It'll be, I mean, pornography created the internet, and it will create the conditions for the singularity to stop all war, to save all the dying out species, save our planet. I mean, give machines a chance.
So with this said, thank you for your attention.
As soon as AI takes over Syria, we'll have there won't be any more fighting, I'm sure. We've tried religion, we've tried extremist political stuff. Yeah, we've tried getting along. Let's face it, for 300,000 years on this planet, us Homo sapiens, we haven't learned to get along. So, should we trust ourselves? Write down in the comments below if you think machines should take over, as long as they're sex bots. I don't want and look like what Margot Robbie. That's what your sex bot would look like, isn't it?
Can you imagine me becoming so successful?
You and 100
and
Margot
then I have
Robbies.
to face, her.
Well, you switch her off. It's a change her for some
That was a good one.
some other one. So, well, okay, and I think we're done now. We're sort of. So, thank you for joining us at this serious session of Autodidact University, the School of Enlightenment and Light Entertainment. I hope you've learned as much as we have. And if you are a machine, good luck.